Part of this feels like we've done this before. Kind of feels new.
It's kind of a strange place. I kind of feel like it seems like every time we're starting all over again.
You know, yeah. We're back. Right Side's Only Radio. I'm your host, Cliff Doherty.
And I'm your other host, Evan Stark. What's going on, people?
The other brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother, otherwise affectionately known as the right front tire, or you can just call me Evan, or this is my brother Daryl, and this is my other brother Daryl, if you're into the whole Newhart thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we just wrapped up Bristol, dude.
We wrapped up Bristol.
Finally.
I'm coming off you want to talk about rain.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone in Bristol complaining about rain after the vacation that I just came off of. So.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, man, that's the reason why we didn't roll a show last weekend. Well, of course, NASCAR had a weekend off last weekend, too. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's a little difficult. I mean, we always have plenty of BS that we can stuff in people's ears.
Sure.
But I had to take a siesta. I had to take a little hiatus. I had to get away from humanity. But
yeah, a little tire break.
It's a little tire break.
How was it, though? Did it work out for you? You got the rest you needed?
It was a really nice vacation. It was just all the rolling chicane that came with it, which was pretty interesting. So, I want to give a huge, heartfelt thoughts and prayers out to all the people in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the surrounding areas, Denham Springs, and all that have lost their homes, and there's been a huge loss of life. And I definitely don't want to marginalize what they're going through because it caused some inconvenience with my vacation. Because I definitely feel bad for those people. So
yeah, man, I was watching a video of that this morning.
Hopefully they start getting their lives back together and getting their homes back together. And
yeah, all of our thoughts and prayers are going out to the folks that are affected by the rain and the flooding and so forth down in that area.
1,000-year storm, Cliff.
Yeah.
4 trillion gallons of water.
And the earth is just tilted ever so slightly in the wrong direction.
4 trillion gallons of water fell.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable.
No, yeah, we can use a little bit of that out here in Southern California, but,
Yeah,
we're affected by rain simply by the fact that we're sitting around here waiting for a race all weekend long and finally got it in. So,
yeah, they managed to squeeze a race in, so we got to see some great Air Titan racing, some side-by-side Air Titan racing.
Yeah.
And then occasionally they slung a race car up there and they made a go at it. So, hey, it was great truck race, by the way, if people weren't paying attention to that middle of the week. And then the Xfinity race was a lot of fun.
It was.
Big win for Austin Dillon. Basically, he only had to lead just a handful of laps, and he took the checkers on that. And then, of course, today we finally get the Cup race. So, really, it's been a full weekend.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Because we're all sitting around last night, having a couple of adult beverages. We're texting and talking and the like on Twitter and waiting for this race to kick off. And, well, heck, guess what? We got several beers in us and no race. So, wah, wah.
Well, actually, we did a little bit better. Unfortunately, a lot of fans, I was thinking about that last night and today, looking at the stands, obviously hitting a race so late in the afternoon on Sunday like that. People got to get back to work and school and all that sort of stuff. So whatever, we've been hitting a tough spot here. Like you said earlier, last time we were on the show was Pocono, which was another rain-delayed race. So the
Poconogo race.
The Poconogo race, yeah. So, well, here we are. We got one out of the way.
And I'm not a grandstand hawk. And people, if you want to know what a grandstand hawk is, it's every race is always people that want to chime in about how empty the grandstands are. Yeah. But the interesting thing is that you have to be watching the race to know that. So I get a big kick out of people talking about how bad it looks like the condition of the sport is in. Mm-hmm. But you got to be watching the sport to even have an opinion. I think sometimes I wonder if people even pay attention. They just have opinions just to have opinions. But last night it was pretty packed. And I mean, there were people like our buddy Carlton. You see this guy on Twitter all the time. This is like one of the most diehard people you will ever meet.
Amazing.
Put on the old poncho, and he stuck it out, and he was bound and determined to make that race. And that just kind of shows what kind of love that you'd see the grandstands would empty, right? Here comes the rain. And next thing you know, the grandstands are empty. And the rain stops. And next thing you know, the grandstands are full again. And we must have watched that a half a dozen times.
Yeah, you started to pick out an orange rain parka and watch the race up the stairs back into the. But I guess the beer line was probably where all the congestion went. So.
Oh yeah, they were out of pulled pork sandwiches and beer by the time that was all done.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, God bless the NASCAR fans, man. They stuck it out, and I understand. Today a lot of people had to get back to their homes, and people book flights. And guess what? If you try to change a flight on the fly like that, good luck with that. So I mean, I understand a lot of people had, but hey. The people that were able to stay, that were actually capable, and I won't call them any more diehard. They were just people that were capable of staying.
Yeah.
Got to see a really handy race. Only had a couple caution laps because of rain. And man, what a big deal for the 4 crew.
With a historic ending. I mean, that was pretty cool to have Harvick.
Yeah, you had Tony Stewart. It can be his last. That's his last hurrah. And also, it's his. Well, it's not his last win as an owner when you think about it, but it's his. Believe it or not, that was the first win for Stewart Haas at Bristol. So last race for Tony Stewart at Bristol,
right?
First win as a team owner with Stewart Haas at Bristol. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get all that out, Cliff.
Yeah, you did it. Great job.
I linguistically, sometimes I'm challenged, but I got to tell you.
Well, you just flung out linguistically, too, so good job.
I appreciate it. I've been working on it. So, yeah. So, I mean, to me, that was great. Kevin Harvick, obviously, if people know the history with him and Tony Stewart. Kevin Harvick wanted to go to Stewart Haas Racing. He wanted to be with Tony Stewart. They've got a very long-standing relationship, a lot of love and respect between those two guys. So obviously those victory burnouts by the 14 car and the 4 car I thought was pretty neat.
Yeah.
And it was
something for the fans. It was cool.
It's something for the fans, and I know. And then once again, you always get into this, people get the feels about, burnouts, whether they like burnouts or not like burnouts and all that stuff. I don't care. The bottom line is they interviewed Smoke after the race, and I'll be honest with you, I got a little misty, man.
Sure.
I like seeing that guy. He always puts a smile on my face.
Well, he was definitely emotional himself tonight too. So
yeah. So I mean,
big moment.
And then I mean, let's take a look at some of the other huge. I mean, let's face it, Kevin Harvick winning a race. Not exactly front page news, right? I mean, the guy's dangerous. He's going to win races. I have this theory that the 4 team and the 48 team and several others out there, I got this theory that they got their wins out of the way early in the season, and they've been piddling and tinkering around and experimenting. I have a feeling 48 and some of these teams are going to really come to life. It's been like the Joe Gibbs Racing show for most of the season.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's starting to be a little bit different. Ricky Stenhouse with the 2 spot.
Yeah, and he's been chopping at the field a little bit and finishing well over the last several weeks, man. They kind of hit a little bit of momentum. Been wanting to dig into that a little bit. I haven't spent enough time to dig into how much that Roush team has started to gain some momentum. You can certainly see it on the track. But with, like you said, with Stenhouse's finish today, being in the top 5, I mean, great job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got Brian Clausen on the car, which we want to send a quick shout out to Lauren Stewart, Brian Clausen's fiance, and that entire family, and let's face it, that entire community, the entire racing community, really just everybody. I mean, I know that the media has really, really had this at the forefront, and for all good purpose, it should be. We're talking about a young man lost his life doing what he loved to do. So a big shout out to everybody that was involved in that community, and a big shout out to Ricky Stenhouse for carrying the torch for Brian Clausen and his family. I know that those two were extremely close off the track, so really kind of a cool deal. But hey, man, I mean, the bottom line is Roush Fenway has weekend by weekend by weekend, they have steadily been something that people are talking about, whether it's Greg Biffle or Trevor Bayne or Ricky Stenhouse. They're starting to gain some momentum. So I'll be really interested to see what their picture looks like with the closing several races. I think we're down to
three races, man. We got 3 races left
of the regular season.
Yeah, that's it. 3.
Is that? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
Wow. Where did the time go?
That's what I said, dude. We're Bristol's out of the way. We got Michigan, Darlington, and Richmond. So, yeah, this is it. We're down to the wire,
It's like
man.
watching your kids grow up almost.
Right? Yeah.
And,
well, we got that, and we got the big show. So we're launching the first annual big show for Right Sides Only Radio. Evan and I are doing September 12th, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. If you have our app.
Is it 6 a.m. Eastern time?
Yeah, I decided to talk about what time I'm going to have to get up. I'm not touching that.
Yeah, you just made my morning earlier, bucko. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
But, 6 a.m. Eastern time. We call it the big show because it's going to be a big show, Cliff.
Yeah.
It's going to be 3 hours of you and I. We're going to have promotions. We might even throw in some giveaways. You never know. I've actually got some really cool giveaways that a really fantastic young lady by the name of Molly Helmuth sent to us. So we'll be giving away some lanyards and hero cards and stickers, and you never know what some of our fantastic people, the people that we promote with and the people that we're working with right now, might send our way for promotional items, but you never know.
Yeah.
We're also going to have some fantastic guests. We've already kind of pinned down a few of those, so some of that information will be forthcoming as soon as we shore up the times and all that stuff. But the deets, if you will. So it's going to be fun, man. You could grab a cup of coffee on your way into work. We're going to cover a big span because, territorially, geographically, Cliff and I are on different time zones, and we want to try to cover a big enough span so we can kind of cover everybody's bases. You can listen to us on the way into work. If you're sick of listening to all those commercials on your, regular drive to work and the morning radio, it's like one song and then 45 minutes of commercials. Instead, you can listen to us, and there'll only be a handful of.
Yeah, and we won't drop them religiously.
And there'll be drivers and just cool people calling in.
People to talk to. Yeah, speaking of calling in, so we have a call-in number if you guys are interested. I would love to hear about Bristol. I don't know about you, Evan, but 855-482-7223. That's an 800 number. Doesn't cost you anything. You can get on the show if you dial in 855-482-7223, and that's where we can bring you on the show. We can talk about Bristol tonight. And then we got some other stuff to share with the folks, right? I mean, we've been given some promo codes for a couple of great brands out there that are supporting the sport the way that we talk about so often on the podcast. Light Up Beverages, Light Up the World Beverages, the Light Up water bottles where they print a custom label on there, Evan.
Anything you want.
Anything you want.
Anything. I challenge you to give Darren Hagen and his people at Light Up the World Beverages something that they can't manage to pull off. I dare you.
Yeah.
That's actually a challenge, and here's why. Cliff, why don't you tell them about what we bring to the table?
And here's Don Pardo. So so Light Up the World Beverages. Check this out. So these are LED lit bottles. You can check them out. You can follow them on Twitter at Light Up Beverage. There's their Twitter site where you can go and get more information about them. The second part is Light Up the World Beverages. You can go out and basically upload your own logo, type, text, whatever you want to do. There's some great opportunities to get these kind of promotional items in the hands of birthday parties, anniversaries, weddings, promotions of business, I mean,
corporate functions.
I could sit here and just read off an entire laundry list. We'll leave it to you guys, being as creative as you can be to figure out what you want on your water bottle. But if you go and follow us at Right Sides Radio, you can find the promo code there, which is, Evan?
RSOR 5150, and you get through 2016 25% off every purchase of Light Up the World Beverages.
Yeah, so if you do it once, you can do it again and still save money.
Absolutely. Come up with, like I said, that would be the coolest party gift, if you will.
Yeah.
People show up to your house, you got the music bumping, you got the cold beverages on ice, and what is that in the corner?
Right? And you know what I was thinking? Halloween's coming up, dude.
Ooh,
think about, hey,
now you're talking.
Yeah, set those up in the window, orange, purple, black.
There you go.
You know what
Maybe
I'm saying?
give one to your kiddo when he's walking around.
Yep.
Or check this out. Here's a great twist on a timeless classic.
All right.
Spin the bottle.
Hey, there you go.
with an LED bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
How you like that?
I do like it.
Run, tell that.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be the king. You'll be the king of 8th grade.
I need a case of water bottles for a serious game of spin the bottle.
Absolutely.
No, that's
Absolutely.
fun.
No,
yeah, so Light Up the Beverages at Light Up Beverage on Twitter there. Like I said, you can go check them out and save yourself some money with that promo code RSOR5150. And then we also have we're proud ambassadors of Nectar Sunglasses, Evan.
Yeah, Nectar Sunglasses, man. They're a great new startup company. They've been around for a little while. They're all about protecting this big, beautiful planet that we're on, and they're the big thing. They got fresh new styles. They're very bright. They're very in your face. But most of all, they're very conscientious about the environment. And the big push they're on right now is saving the bees. If you are familiar with the way our delicate ecosystem works, then you know that bees are a very crucial part of how your crops and your flowers and plants find life through pollination. Bees are a very important part of our ecosystem, and they are basically contributing some of the proceeds to the sales of their movement to help protect bees.
Right.
But we also are going to give you a special treat, and here's how. If you use RSOR 15 or TRFT 15, you will get 15% off of each and every purchase. Dial in as many times as you like. Go on the website. Realize this is for, one time per purchase. So don't think you can just stack up 15%, get 45%. That's not the way that it works. But every time you go to Nectar's website, you enter that promo code, RSOR15. You get 15% off of each purpose. And you're also doing something very good for the environment and something that hopefully will benefit us for centuries.
Yeah, and just like a friend of the show, Obi, who is also sponsored by Nectar. So like we said, they're a great supporter of the sport, a supporter of Obi specifically. So we're glad to be able to represent them and help out local racers like Obi.
Yes, this is our motto, support the folks who support the sport.
Yeah.
So every time you put money in their pocket, they're putting money in a car for some young racer to get their start.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's good stuff. So check them out on Twitter at Nectar Sunglass and their website, nectarsunglasses.com. So
that's it. Yep.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, racing, man. What do you think? So we hit Bristol. We hit it a little bit in the beginning of the show. Kevin Harvick, there's obviously a lot there that we can talk about. The rain delay, kept us all on the edge of our seats for the last 2 days. And, I guess rewinding the clock a little bit before we jump too far into that is, the big news through the week in my mind was the William Byron story with Hendrick. And Rick Hendrick kind of pouncing on the mouse right away.
Well, and there's a backstory behind that too, Cliff, because JGR really, I don't believe they really had a spot for him yet. Potential for them too. But I think right now it looks like they're, and here's the deal. Okay, so you have the opportunity to occasionally jump behind the wheel of Kyle Busch's car, or Hendrick Motorsports approaches you with a full season, right? And at some point, as a young racer like William Byron, who's got I think he's got an enormous amount of talent. He's got great humility and presence in front of the camera and the microphone. I think he's going to be a great representative of the sport. He'll be a great representative for Mr. Hendrick. But like I said, at this point in your career, and his career, kind of has to make a decision about what to do. So he came to a fork of the road, and he took it. I mean, I don't think he was going to do any harm by staying with JGR.
Right.
That being said, he's got a full-time ride now with Hendrick Motorsports. So, I mean, that's Kyle Busch did a great thing. KBR did a great thing. KBM did a great thing bringing him on board and mentoring him. And the kid has got he's got talent we haven't even seen yet.
Man. Yeah. I mean, he's won 5 races so far this season. I mean, here's the interesting thing. We've talked about this on the show quite a bit, and I would say probably the 2 to 3 episodes prior. about that bench of having backup drivers. We had a announcement almost immediately after that from Stewart-Haas that they're going to field an Xfinity car next year in 2017. There's obviously going to be a lot of movement over the next several months as we get into closer to the end of the season, where we start to see a lot of these young drivers get moved around, shuffled around. And I think the William Byron move with Hendrick is really going to set the tone for some of those others that are coming up behind as well. So I suspect that, we talked about this previously with the junior, still being out of the race and looking like he's not going to be back for next week either. Is this where a lot of these teams are really starting to look at who those young drivers are out there in the field, such as William Byron in other series, and trying to figure out where they're going to start shuffling these guys?
Yeah, and on the heels of that, Penske came along in due form and they announced that they'll be fielding another Xfinity car. So there'll be two Penske Xfinity cars now in the field. And this, to me, starts to speak more and more about seeing the possibilities of driver development, which I know people hate to hear, but seeing some possibilities for driver development. They made the comment, and Cliff, I believe you brought it up the last show that we did. You actually made the comment that, we had heard during an Xfinity race that Brad had made the comment that Brad was still kind of trying to dial in their Xfinity program.
Right.
So they add another car next year. They've got, talk about mentors. You got Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano as mentors, right? Yeah. You've got a really successful program that's had several people behind the wheel, Ryan Blaney and Logano and Brad Keselowski. And now they put them in another car. They put some young talent that they haven't announced the driver yet either. So that remains to be seen. Who's going to be driving this mystery second car? It's going to be a pretty neat deal.
I think a lot of this movement's got a lot to say. For me, I'm trying to read between the lines as these stories keep popping up, but I think a lot of it's got to do with the competition that Ford's going to have overall against TRD. It seems to me like, what you said earlier in the show, opening up, that, the Chevys, the Hendricks, the Stewart-Haas, the competition at this point, we've talked about this so much through the year, which is hard to avoid, but the pure dominance of Joe Gibbs and really any of the Toyotas that are out there in really any of the series are doing so well. And to me, it looks like as we start getting lined up going into 2017, that it's really Ford, the whole Ford racing program, that's looking for advantages because the Joe Gibbs Racing and the Toyota Racing development team working so closely together and having such great results. And I really feel like it's really Ford trying to set the stage with its teams that's involved with to try to get an advantage for next year.
Well, you're going to have Stewart-Haas is going to be they're going to be a Ford team. So right now Ford already has two more advantages in regards to the Xfinity series. Basically, one of them by proxy, and that's just because Haas decided that they were going to get involved in the Xfinity game. And I don't know what that's going to mean. Obviously there's going to be some issues because, Kevin Harvick obviously was racing for Junior Motorsports, and now that's going to come to an end. At least I'm pretty sure it's going to come to an end. Yeah. And, so it's going to be really interesting.
As they expand that program, though, like you said, with the, Stewart-Haas coming on, you know what I do? I actually go out on job sites and I search for NASCAR job sites because it's really telling to me about, where certain teams or organizations or manufacturers, where they're hiring and what they're hiring. So you can definitely see that Ford's very much on this in terms of the expansion of its racing program and what it's doing with these teams. I expect a lot out of Ford next year, to be honest with you. Having that kind of momentum in the engineering and the know-how that comes from that Stewart-Haas organization moving forward, that once that alignment's in place, I expect that there's going to be a lot of momentum that we're going to see out of those Ford teams out there. Because it's Toyota, to me, that they're contending with.
Me too. And the other thing is, I guess if you're paying, you got to see the writing on the wall, too. A lot of these drivers are starting to get up there in age. Obviously, Kyle Busch is not going anywhere. In fact, Kyle Busch is still really young. He's very experienced. He's been around for a long time, but he's really young. But you've got Matt Kenseth, who is starting to kind of get up there in age. I mean, even Kevin Harvick. I mean, he's 40. He's still very successful. So I don't want to. I don't want to close the door on his future. But let's face it. At some point, you kind of cross that threshold and say,
we're not trying to push him out the door. The thing that's interesting,
not at all.
The thing that's
quite the contrary.
Well, but it's interesting to me as I view NASCAR as a fan, and I guess this is the same for any sport, but we see so many of these young rookies, the Ryan Blaney's. Look at Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. I mean, they were doing really well there for a while. They had Kyle Busch out in front, and they were second and third apiece. So for sure their performance has been pretty good this year, considering that it's their first season in the Cup Series and that sort of thing, which is great. But then, you start looking at these other events or races in the Truck Series, Xfinity, and so forth, and you can really see that, there's so many great drivers. I heard on XM earlier this week, Christian Bell and Eric Jones and, Daniel Suarez. I mean, the list is really pretty long for who we're going to likely see, really starting to come up within this next few months, I would bet. Easy.
Well, and not just that, but pay very close attention to who you're watching in Xfinity and the Camping World Truck Series, because these are going to be the people you're going to be watching on Sunday, 10 years down the road.
I think it's going to be sooner, dude. I really do.
Like I said, I think it all depends. And what this also does is this also produces a fresh new pool of talent for some of these single car teams that are looking for, more relevance. Or, like I said, the unfortunate issue that happened with Dale Jr. It's very unfortunate, but there's got to be a contingency plan. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar operation. It's a huge franchise. Yeah. So you can't just say, well, sorry, but the 88 car doesn't run this weekend. Yeah. You got to find a way to keep moving on, and this is going to offer some more young, robust talent that people can say, hey, man, we need to fill the seat. Let's call up the lefty.
Did you hear anything from Kyle Busch in his response to William Byron moving over next year? Did you really see anything around that? Because I didn't. I'm just curious.
I'll be honest with you. I expected a response, but I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's like I said. I mean, it was kind of what happened a couple of seasons ago with the whole Bubba Wallace thing, right?
Yeah.
Between Joe Gibbs and then Roush Fenway, and then you kind of. I mean, I'm going to step out on the ledge and say that maybe I would have rethunked that. Maybe I would have stuck with JGR, but like I said, the difference was opportunities to be behind the wheel of a race car, and I'm sure it's probably disappointing because KBM and JGR has probably invested a lot of stock in developing William Byron. But that being said, like I said, the kid's got to do it in the end.
They had no commitment to him, though.
I mean, what I heard, and I don't know if this is an official statement or not, and it might, because you know how the internet world is, that they really didn't have a full-time ride for him yet,
right,
in Xfinity. So, I mean,
and so that's kind of curious. What do you mean yet? To me, it's like, well, what do you mean yet? Here you have this great driver in development. Obviously winning 5 races. Why don't you have kind of that forward look, of what you're going to do with William Byron? It seems to me it's a little mysterious. I'm sure there's some other story out there behind this whole thing, because that seemed really easy to some degree. But like you said,
it's easy for
when Mr. Hendrick walks up,
like Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, when somebody approaches you like that, sure, it's easy.
Well, yeah, and like I said, and there again, I mean, you're talking about, obviously you are talking about a team that JGR already has. They're pretty stacked in regards to Xfinity. So either they couldn't, not capable, didn't see it coming, couldn't put a sponsor on the side of the car, or, I mean, you never really know what goes into that or how the gears turn behind closed doors, because they don't tell people like you and I. But right? I mean, they don't.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But here's what's coming on the backside of that. Hendrick Motorsports and Junior Motorsports, anyone in the Chevrolet camp knows that they're going to have to do something to be relevant, remain relevant. And I'm not saying that Chevrolet is going anywhere. Hendrick Motorsports and anyone that realizes how big Stewart-Haas moving to Ford really is and the power shift that's going to take place with them going to Ford knows that they're going to have to do something to stack the chips against JGR and Ford.
Yeah.
So what better way to do it than take a kid who is basically ready to go and put him in one of your cars?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. So, I mean, it was a very strategic move, and let's face it, man, there's no honor amongst thieves, right?
Well, and that's, part of what makes me think that, these drivers aren't going to spend a lot of time. Maybe, I mean, the Chase Elliott's probably an exception. He's not going anywhere, right? Contract aside, everything's in place. Not. Yeah, everything's in place. He's staying right where he's at. But then you look at, where, Barney Visser was talking about taking on Eric Jones. The fact is that he was pretty convinced that he wasn't going to stay around probably through next year. So that's what leads me to believe that, there's going to be a lot of movement over the offseason. I would expect we're going to hear a lot about how these guys are going to move around and who's going to be moving up. Chris Buescher, for example, we talked about him before we got on tonight. He's been making some incredibly good gaining positions on the track, obviously winning out of Pocono in the rain delay, finished off the race there, and then obviously today finishing as well as he did. And
they
last
got some
week,
support.
So,
They got some support. They got some support by Penske this weekend too.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you're probably going to see a lot more of that happening. The thing with Eric Jones, I mean, let's face it, he technically doesn't leave Joe Gibbs Racing.
Right.
For all intents and purposes, he's still going to be in their backyard. He's still going to be racing in one of their cars. He's just going to be doing so under a different umbrella, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really kind of a technicality that it's Furniture Row Racing because in all reality, it's the fifth JGR team that they can't legally have for the rulebook. And now it's the sixth. And that does a lot. That does a lot for the Furniture Row program as well. Because any team that you can add on where you bring in fresh engineering, new ideas, and you get the opportunity to stop, collaborate, and listen, if you will. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
That helps the entire group, right? You bring in a fresh set of engineers, the whole 9 yards, whole new crew, and now all of a sudden you have another group that you could bounce ideas off on your competition meetings on Tuesday, and it benefits everybody. It benefits Toyota. It benefits Furniture Row. It benefits Joe Gibbs Racing. And you have, obviously, one of the hottest talents on the market right now, and you've kind of locked him down to the Toyota brand.
Right.
So you don't, because you don't want to let a kid like that go. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to let William Byron go, but you definitely don't want to let Eric Jones go. The guy's already a Camping World Truck Series champion, and let's face it, I mean, he's on fire. So let's go ahead. And you never know what happens in the future, right? So Matt Kenseth retires, and then that opens up a seat. And
we've been talking about that quite a bit lately, of moving around, that sort of thing. I wanted to go back to something you said earlier, though, about the Chevy side of the house. Specifically with Hendrick, and they have kind of been. We talked about this as well a few times on the show here, is the test and tune kind of mentality that we kind of see, right? That these guys are out there pushing. Kyle Busch made the comment today about breaking parts, and, he's basically getting tired of getting handed a crap sandwich, evidently. So somewhere it seems like they've been, maybe that almost alludes to the fact that maybe they've kind of peaked at this point, and they've kind of pushed those edges as far out as they possibly could at this point. And now we're starting to see teams like Hendrick or Richard Childress starting to really kind of step up, especially with the finish today. Obviously the win with Austin Dillon yesterday, and then, seeing those guys finish as well as he did today as well also. So,
well, their world got is going to get substantially smaller, and here's why. I mean, for the people that may, number one, Stewart-Haas Racing they're an elite level team.
Yeah.
There's 5 championships floating around in the Stewart-Haas garage. They are definitely an elite level team. They have plenty of money. They're not skimping on parts. I question whether or not the 10 car has all the cute bells and whistles and toys. I don't really have any idea. I can't speak to that. Right. But for people that may or may not know a little bit about the economics of the way that this works, It can cost upwards of $250,000, $300,000 for an engine and a tuner to race for the weekend. Maybe even more than that, depending on the scenario. So, business for Hendrick Motorsports. I mean, basically, Stewart-Haas is hanging the bodies and doing some of their own work behind closed doors, but for the most part, they're in Hendrick Motorsports equipment. And that all is dollars. That is dollars that is going in the coffers of Hendrick Motorsports. And now, all of a sudden, they lose 4 of those.
Right.
So you can imagine if you're, let's just say for the sake of an argument, let's just go ahead and take a nice round number, and we'll say that an engine package for all 4 of those cars is $100,000 a piece per weekend.
Right. Yeah.
Extrapolate that real quick. There's millions of dollars on the table right now that all Hendrick had to do was keep doing what they were doing. They don't have to worry about drivers or crews. All they have to do is send an engine package your way.
Right.
That's easy money, so to speak, that Hendrick is basically getting taken off the table. So their market share just decreased. Their exchange of engineering notes just got smaller. I mean, there's a lot at play in this. This is a very, very, very much bigger than people have made it.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting, like I said, especially with the chase coming in. You know, it seems to me we've talked before the show tonight about, especially Jimmy Johnson. I was expecting more out of Jimmy Johnson today. Obviously, had kind of a rough day. But the fact is now that we're getting down to, like we said earlier, those last 3 races of this regular season, I think it's going to become increasingly crucial for. I think we're going to start to see that kind of the fire in their eye type of look, heading into these last 3 races, because now it's down to, I don't know if you saw where the chase kind of stands at this point, but Ryan Blaney, I mean, he's so far out on points now, and it's going to be so much more critical for so many of these teams to really kind of ratchet it up now. I think the test and tune part of it's over. It really looked to me like you said earlier, having the number 4 car being one of the fastest cars out there. Kyle Busch was obviously hot and heavy, and he probably had it right last night when he did the mic drop and said, are you ready for the Kyle Busch show, right? Whatever. But at the end of the day, he has a bad day today. He has a bad day today, and I think, like I said, the test and tune period's over, and now in these next 3 races are going to be critical for some of those top performing teams. I mean, really, all that momentum's still there. Look at all the JGR cars. They were at least within the top 10, top 15, top 5 at some points. Denny Hamlin was leading the race at one point. So I think they have all their parts and pieces, and they've got the game figured out at this point. I think it's going to be critical how they finish up this regular season, the next 3 races, and then it's on like Donkey Kong after that, coming into the chase, because I mean, for sure we're going to see all the Joe Gibbs cars in there. We've got pretty much where it stands right now, unless we get a dark horse that comes in and slides one, win in out of the blue somewhere, maybe Darlington. But a lot of momentum.
Even that, like I say, Chris Buescher, he sneaks up, he gets this win a couple of weekends ago, and it's a Cinderella story, obviously, for anybody, because it's just so incredibly difficult. And to me, it doesn't matter under what circumstance you win a race. I don't care if it's fuel strategy or tire strategy, to me, it's all semantics, because to that driver, to those sponsors, to that team, that is a W.
Right.
And that's a huge, huge deal. Finishing top 5 for a group for a guy like Chris Buescher is an incredibly big deal. Right. Michael McDowell and the Thrivent groups, the Thrivent group under Levine Racing, them finishing in the top 10 or top 15. Anytime a small team like that does that, it's a huge deal. Let alone a win. A win is a colossal deal. It really kind of changes the outlook of the way these teams operate, because these teams need dollars. And winning a race makes them relevant, and being relevant gets you better sponsors on the side of the car.
Yeah.
So, however, I kind of liken this to being a good salesman. You can wine them, you can dine them, you can take them out, and you can play golf. What really matters is if you can't close the deal. To me, it's tragic, because people get so excited about, oh my God, this group is they're in the chase.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Chris Buescher could roll into the chase. He might bang out a win and make it through to the next round.
Sure.
You never know.
Yeah.
Points become incredibly more crucial in the chase. If you remember a couple of years ago, Ryan Newman made it through to Homestead and contended for the championship and never won a race.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's possible.
It becomes much more crucial going into the chase. Here's the problem. For people like Ryan Blaney, who I just absolutely adore, and I grit my teeth because I want that kid to win so bad. I want them to put that 21 car in victory lane. I think at this point in the game, the future looks really, really bleak.
He was pretty frustrated today, man. You could see it on his face.
He has every right to be. He had a fast race car. They have been bringing now. I hope people realize this at this point. I hope people realize that team has to qualify to race.
Yeah, every week.
So it's no joke for that team when they unload.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a golden ticket. So they have to perform. So, I mean, it's a huge, huge deal. And they've been bringing some really fast race cars. And they made the comment today that it seems like anytime you see Ryan Blaney, well, there's Chase Elliott.
Right.
They're never more than a couple of car lengths away from each other, which tells me that I think as far as talent, I think they're both that if you put the two of them in a duel with equivalent equipment, it'd be interesting to see the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both really talented, and like you said, for sure, it's easy to pick up on the fact that they're usually right in the vicinity of each other, so almost at every track. So
usually if you see one aggressive up front, you see one coming, you see one gaining ground. So they've been playing this cat and mouse game pretty much all season. The difference is that one of them climbed into a car that's got a golden ticket, and I mean, he really, to be honest with you, something really bad would have to happen for him not to basically break into the chase.
Yeah.
But like I said, to me, the chase is all about how well can you close the deal.
Right.
So you can go to all the sales meetings, you can buy all the steaks that you want, you can wine and dine all you want, but ultimately in the end, if you can't close it, there it is. So it's going to be this chase is going to be. I think this chase is going to be a little crazy, and I don't know about you. But I keep waiting for some of these tempers to flare. There's been a lot of bumping and grinding this season. That's kind of gone unnoticed, and it really hasn't. It's no one's really said a whole lot, but you've seen some nudging and Kevin. I've been waiting for Kevin Harvick to tap Jimmy Johnson around a little bit. It happened today.
Yeah.
Of course, that's short track racing, but that was a pretty nice little nudge.
Yeah, it was.
I'm really. Is everyone just kind of keeping a safe distance because of everything that happened last season, like at Martinsville? Is everyone like, ooh, it's like off limits now?
And I think I sent you that in a text message earlier today about Kenseth, right, and getting rear-ended or T-boned by Blaney. And, the fact was, what do you do? What do you do with that? I mean, there's not much you can do. And I listened to the Kenseth afterwards when they interviewed him afterwards. It seemed like I was waiting. I was kind of holding my breath going, is he going to go off on these two or, what? And he seemed pretty gracious towards it. It wasn't, I think it seemed to me like even, was it Kyle? They kind of expected that something different would happen out of that, but it's like, what can you do? I mean, slowing down at that track is nearly impossible.
To me, that is the unfortunate. That's an unfortunate short track wreck. I mean, that just.
Yeah.
I don't know that was avoidable. Blaney couldn't go down the track. He had a car right next to him, and he had the wall on the other side.
Yeah.
And basically, the 20 car folds up right in front of him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like someone pulling out in front of you at an intersection. I mean, what are you going to do? So I don't know that Matt's response was necessary, but I can understand his frustration.
Sure.
I mean, like I said, I don't know ultimately at the end of the day, I don't know that he was actually mad at Ryan Blaney. I'll tell you who should be mad. Kyle should be a little bit upset with whoever was spotting the 46.
That's what he said.
Well, I'm just saying, because I was like, oh my God. I mean, I was actually, and I'm not a spotter, and I don't pretend to be. I don't even play one on TV. But I've heard several spotters, like I believe it was on Door Bumper Clear. I heard some notable spotter make a comment about they typically tell you to continue driving towards, in a lot of cases, the accident, because by the time you get there, it has already moved. The cars have already moved out of the way, right? So car wrecks in front of you, they either fall down the track or they go up the track and they hit the brakes. Hopefully they hit the brakes. Some of them don't. So to me, when I saw the 46 car just all of a sudden change directions, and it looked like he never even hit the brakes.
Right.
It looked like just full speed, just yanked the wheel to the right. I was like, oh my God. So you got a handful of cars that went up to avoid a wreck, managed to avoid it, and then they get blindsided. Kyle gets the front end of his car taken off, and he got plowed into.
Well, we have
gets his car taken out, and then, of course, unfortunately, some other people got their cars completely taken out in the process.
I picked up on something, though, that Kyle said. We have the audio from NBC Sports, their interview with Kyle after that wreck. There's something he says here that I want you to hear.
Oh, you mean he actually?
Yeah, I grabbed a little audio.
Don't tell me that Kyle Busch had an opinion about it.
Yeah, let's hear his opinion.
All right.
What were you feeling inside the car? Something breaking, obviously. I don't know, it's a shame. Last few times we've been here, we've had really fast M&M Toyota Camrys, and we haven't been able to finish. We've been having parts failures here, so something we got to address and fix. I'm really tired of losing races here with parts falling apart, so they'll hear about it on Tuesday. But the person that's really the biggest moron out there is the spotter of the 46 and the driver of the 46. I've been wrecking for half a lap, and they just come on through and clean us out.
So that was kind of the piece right there. I've been wrecking for half of a lap, and still ended up getting smashed after that. So
They're passionate people. Drivers are passionate people.
They are passionate. So, NBC Sports interviewed him afterwards, and the fact was, like I said, it's easy to kind of get caught up in that emotion in that moment, but then I had to go back and listen to what Kyle said, and I have to, kind of agree with him a little bit. It's like, look, when you know that you have those kinds of problems, as a matter of fact, I think he was saying something on the radio just prior to that he was having problems. You would expect that would get communicated to any cars that are anywhere near him at that point. But he's wrecking it halfway through the entire track there, and still ends up getting hit. So I can sense where he kind of has a point in terms of that wreck and how he felt about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I guess there's probably, I don't know what goes through the minds of, anybody. I don't even know what goes through the mind of myself or you, for that matter. So
definitely not me.
But to me, I kind of see this logic in my mind, like we're hearing some scuttlebutt that the 18 car is having issues. So maybe they see that as an opportunity. They're like, oh, well, what? If he has a little spinaroo, maybe we gain a couple of track positions, right?
Yeah.
It's the difference between 25th and 20th, maybe, or it's the difference between 20th and 15th. So, maybe be a little bit more aggressive.
Well, and that aggressiveness,
Backfired.
that aggressiveness seems to have bit his brother as well. We grabbed that little piece of audio from NBC Sports. Here's Kurt commenting on, after that restart, I thought for sure, dude, Kurt was going to get that. And, man, I knew that he had his hands full with Joey there. And here's the audio from Kurt after he wrecked out.
Well, you were obviously right in the middle of that. What happened?
I just missed the bottom groove and missed it by a few inches, and drove the car at 101%, got loose, and it was away from me. Should have had it at that 99% level. That rosin, that VHT grip level on the bottom, if you don't hit it exactly right, you lose a lot of speed. So I hate it for my guys. I mean, we've completed every lap this year. I put it up on edge to try to win the Bristol night race and overstep the line.
Thanks for your time.
All right.
Yeah, blame Kurt for driving as hard as
So
that is definitely a new and improved. I mean,
isn't that awesome?
Huge props to whoever it is, and it could just be Kurt Busch just maturing a little bit, but huge props to the sharp contrast in the Kurt Busch that we see nowadays.
Yeah.
And like I said, just basically took complete responsibility. He's like, man, I drove the car too hard. I mean, it was that simple. I mean, I put too much on it. And
well, what's interesting about that is in practice last week, he was making the comment, I heard this on XM, and saying that, he knew mechanically in the old school way of what he needed out of that car, out of the 41. And,
sure.
And he said, I'll leave it to you, Tony, to do the translation between what I'm asking you for and how to do that new school. So I thought that was actually really interesting. And then to hear him say, I pushed that thing to 101%, that meant, basically Kurt he pushed that thing well beyond. He said, I should have just kept it at 99%, but he's going for the win. This would have been a huge win obviously for Kurt and the team. But the fact is those are the types of things as race fans, for me personally, that's what I'm looking for. That these guys are doing that all the time, but to hear them say it and say, look, I pushed this thing so stinking hard, I pushed it too hard and ended up paying the price for it. But, it really is a testament to kind of where they're developing like we said earlier, is where they're developing their program right now and what they're expecting to get out of these cars.
Well, Kurt is, and I will always give him credit for being probably one of the most intuitive people in the sport. To his credit and to Kyle's credit, they know what the cars need. Right. I believe if Kurt made the comment that somebody clearly made the wrong adjustment on the car, which he won't do because Tony Gibson will put him in a headlock, but I would believe him.
Right.
If he says, I pushed the car too hard, maybe I could have managed it at 100%, but I saw an opportunity and I tried to take it, and, hey, I'm sorry, I wrecked the car.
Yeah.
I put 100% stock in the fact that he overdrove the car. And this is the kind of stuff that people are going to start seeing the closer we get to the end of the season, because like Cliff and I have talked about before, it's not just about you winning. It's about you knocking somebody else out of a win and not having to face them later on. Because, they're going to start, and trust me, they're going to start stacking strategy and trying to either it's going to get a. And this is what I know a lot of people, I don't even want to debate about the chase. I got so tired of hearing all the hoopla about we're a couple seasons into the chase grid now.
Yeah.
And it appears as though NASCAR is not going to change it. So if you're against it,
sorry,
sounds like you're going to keep watching.
Yeah.
Because if you're complaining, that means you're watching, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as you're tuning into the race, you can complain, and to me that means you're watching, and that gives NASCAR numbers. So if you're going to be mad at NASCAR,
stop watching.
You've picked the wrong strategy, right? Because
we're telling you to stop watching NASCAR. Can you believe it?
You're still giving them ratings, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
which is to me is always if you're someone who loves irony, and I'm a guy who loves irony,
right.
Cliff.
Yeah,
that's irony.
I know that.
But what I love about the chase, it's the same thing with college basketball. It puts everybody in the pressure cooker.
Yeah,
everybody in the pressure cooker. It even puts people who are not in the chase in the pressure cooker.
Right.
Because they might be trying to help their teammates out. Or you know what? Guess what? Just because you're not in the chase, you still make money when you win a race.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So you still want to win a race. And let's say you're not a big fan of what that guy did to you earlier on in the season. Well, I'm not a chase contender. Well, guess what? I still want to beat that guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's going to be plenty of that.
Yeah. And to me, as long as you don't spearfish somebody into a wall, then I'm perfectly okay with a little bumping and grinding and a little slipping and sliding during the race. So that's just racing. So.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. We got a lot to look forward to, dude. I can't wait. I'm actually getting more and more excited each week. And like I said, once we start ticking off Michigan, I'm really looking forward to Michigan next week. I'm going to go ahead and call out Kurt Busch as my pick for Michigan, though, next week. I still feel like he's got one coming. I know, dude.
Well, all right. Well, you called Kurt. So
2 weeks in a row, I got him.
Yeah, well, I know. And I was like, well, okay. So you kind of snatched because I was.
Oh, are you going to take him?
I was going to go with Kurt. I was going to go with Kurt just for the heck of it. I was kind of thinking, I've been feeling Stewart-Haas a lot lately. So I was thinking, 41-4. Everybody knows, I'm kind of a big fan of the 4 car, but I was thinking 41-4, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with the 2 car.
There you go.
I'm going to go with the 2 car, and then obviously I'm going to, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dial my dark horse back in at the 3 car.
Oh, there you go.
I've been seeing some stuff out of Austin Dillon that I really, really like.
Yeah.
He's been really getting aggressive. He's been throwing his elbows up. And I tell you what, man,
yeah.
I really thought he was going to give Kevin Harvick a really hard time today.
Yeah. Well, he did a little bump and run himself today, so that was good.
Well, I just mean the competition between the 3 and the 4 car today seemed like Dillon was there. Like he was definitely, like Harvick definitely knew that Austin Dillon was there. And that's something that we have been consistently seeing.
Right.
And we've been talking about it for most of the season. We've been talking about the 17 car and the 3 car and kind of how they're making progress. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw Dillon out there for the old dark horse.
For the W.
For the W.
Sounds good. I'm going Larson for my dark horse, though. He's got to get one, man. He's so close. I feel like he does good. I know. I got to keep believing, man. Can't give up.
We keep saying that, but Chip Ganassi in the IndyCar world is so strong, and I always just kind of in my mind just think that's going to carry over into the Cup Series. But there's something missing with the 42 team.
I know,
and I can't put my finger on it because I honestly don't think that it's Kyle running out of talent. I think it's the car. I think the car.
You know what's interesting about that?
That's my observation because Kyle's got lots of talent. Maybe he's a little too high strung. Maybe he's a little too aggressive.
Well, here's what that's what I was going to say is to me it seems like that car for Kyle isn't where Kyle's at. There's just kind of he hasn't made the connection there. He drives the wheels off of that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
Yeah, literally. I mean, he does. I mean, like you said, he's very aggressive, and I think what Kyle's missing is the car setup. His ability to drive and to be contending for a win is there. What I think he's missing is just an ill-handling car that isn't quite aligned with where Kyle likes with his style.
Yeah, it's like him and the car haven't actually met in the right point.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Right jockey, wrong horse.
Yeah, and that's just my honest opinion. I mean, I believe CGR has got a good Cup program, and don't anyone think I'm shooting them down. It's quite the contrary. My belief is that Kyle, like you said, Kyle and that car are just at a very different place. And where you see it, where you seem to see it is it always seems like you can tell when he turns the desperation on.
Yeah.
There is the Kyle during the normal, just kind of first, half of the race.
Yep.
And then there's a Kyle when he smells blood in the water. Yeah. And then there's the Kyle when he kind of feels like it's slipping away. And it seems like when he starts to lose the car, he pushes it even harder.
Right.
And maybe that's just a maturing as a driver kind of situation.
Could be.
Like, maybe just like I said, it might just take. I mean, and the other thing is just the sheer amount of pressure that everyone has put on this kid and to win a race. Because you ask anybody, and just about anyone will tell you Kyle Larson should have won a race already.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's time.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got the talent. He's got good equipment. It's Hendrick equipment.
Yeah.
But the driver's going to come around. The driver's going to develop in the time that the driver's going to develop. And there's nothing – you can't make a driver develop any faster than that. Whatever that window is.
Yeah. And it could be an even split. It may be, like you said, just Kyle kind of maturing as a driver and finding kind of what those limits are. And it's not to knock him, but maybe he's pushing a little harder than what the car's able to give him for what he's looking for. But on the flip side of that, if he's at the edge, and has kind of pushed himself out to the edge there, it's going to be up to him to make those driving adjustments so that he can handle it and get it to respond the way he wants. So.
Yeah, I've just been seeing that for whatever reason. I can actually see the different stages of his driving.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming so prevalent, and in my mind, I think I'm no expert, but hey, dude, just pump the brakes, dial it down a little bit, let the car come to you. Just let the car come to you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, man, you dying on us or what? What's the deal?
I did a little sip of the water, went down the wrong way. Right Sides Only Radio. Hey, man, that was a quick hour. I don't know how we got here so quick.
It kind of flew by.
I feel like we should drag this on for the next 3 days.
Well, we're going to have 3 hours September 12th, Cliff.
The big show.
3 hours, the big show. And it's going to fly by. We have so much fun doing this. Cannot thank our friends and family and followers and listeners, all the people that have helped us along the way. Hey, let's give a huge Right Sides Only Radio Nation shout-out to the Naked Porch.
Yeah, Naked Porch.
They've been throwing our name out. They actually dropped our promo on their last show. So.
Yeah, that was sweet. Thanks a lot, guys, at the Naked Porch podcast.
Ray, Chris, and Melanie. That really great group. I believe that's her name. I hope that's her name.
Yeah, no, you got it right.
Right.
Yeah, they're a good group. They're pretty funny. Out of New York. They're in New York, right? Up there.
They're out of New York.
Yeah.
They're out of New York. The Naked Porch podcast. They are an absolute riot. Absolute riot.
They're pretty funny.
A little irreverent. I mean, I wouldn't. I would, like I said, there. But
put the kids to bed. Put the kids
to bed. Grab yourself a cold adult beverage,
right?
And sit down. Man, those folks are an absolute. They're great people. They're a lot of fun, man. They're just an absolute. It's like crazy on wheels. So you gotta check them out.
Yeah. Right Sides Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Right Sides Radio. You can find our episodes there. You can find those promo codes we talked about earlier. Nectar sunglasses. Get you a pair of Nectar sunglasses.
RSOR 15.
RSOR 15 will get you 15% off Nectar sunglasses. And then Light Up the World Beverages.
Yes.
They got us 25% if you use the code RSOR 5150. Yeah. Get you some of that. Help these guys out.
Get you some. Light up your world, Cliff.
And finally, the app for Right Sides Only Radio, the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Get it there.
Go get it. Go get it right now. Get up on it. Make listening easier. Take us to work with you. Take us to school. Well, maybe not take us to school.
Yeah.
Maybe get your phone. Maybe get your phone taken.
Get it.
But
yeah.
Yeah, but I tell you what, if your kid gets busted listening to Right Sides Only Radio, we might establish a legal defense fund for him.
We might.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thanks a lot for everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next week after Michigan. See ya.
Later.